And so this is specific to the FICO score. So there's 3 different types of scores. FICO is one of them. And the way they calculate it is it's 35% based off of your payment history. It's 30% based off of your amount owed, and then the rest is based off of your length of credit history. And so you can kind of look at that and see what can I do in order to make sure that I am performing well in all 3 of those categories. And so some of the advice that I found is it actually came from FICO themselves of how to do well in these categories. In regards to the payment history, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just make sure you pay your bills on time. And so make sure that you either set some sort of a notification in your calendar. That's what I do. I have a calendar entry that says, hey, my credit cards are due these days, and so I pay them. And so that's payment history. That one's pretty self-explanatory. And that's actually 35%, so one of the biggest chunks. The second one is amount owed, so that's 30%. And so from that perspective, you want to make sure that your overall balance compared to your credit limit is low. If you have a $10,000 credit limit, you don't want to have it sitting at $10,000 constantly throughout the month because that'll negatively affect your credit score. And in order to do that, you want to make sure you're actually paying off the cards and not doing the balance transfers. Those, when you log into your credit card website, you see that massive special 0% for 24 months of balance transfer. Because you do that, you still have the debt is still on your credit history. It's just moved from a different credit card, and you don't get hit with interest, but you're still being affected negatively in regards to credit. Something else that I didn't, I remember I was told a while ago, but I didn't necessarily know what it affected. But it's when you have a credit card you're not using and you close it, thinking that that's going to somehow positively affect your credit score, well, it actually negatively affects it because they don't know why you're closing it. I've heard that you can send it back if you want to close your account, put it in an envelope and actually send it back to your to the credit card company so they know why you're closing. It's not because it got stolen or because you can no longer afford it. But according to this article, they recommended just not doing that at all. And finally, and this kind of has to do with the third one, which is the length of credit history. But it also has to do with amount owed, is don't open a bunch of new credit cards. And so if you want to extend your balance and you think, I'm just going to open up a new credit card in order to have more money, that also negatively affects your credit score.
Temporarily,
yes.
Temporarily. One thing when you do open up a new credit card because you should have I believe credit cards to help with the credit score. Mm-hmm. I like to not have the annual fees. So if you don't have an annual fee and it's just a credit card that's open with a line of credit, then no harm, no foul. But if you have an annual fee credit card, which I have a couple at this point because I use it for business and it makes sense to have them. I haven't really looked into it that much. Then when you have credit cards, just try not to have an annual fee.
Yep, no, definitely no annual fee. I remember my mom always harped me on that when I opened cards. There's 2 additional tips that I have that just from my perspective that I use because I have a really good credit score because I've had a card since I was 18 years old and I've always paid it on time. My parents helped me out with that, so it's not all on me, but I have a really good credit score. And one thing is it's a application called Mint, M-Y-N-T, I think, or M-I-N-T, one of the 2.
I've heard of Mint, M-I-N-T, the financial website.
It's the financial website then.
Yeah.
And you can, essentially you're allowed to, you basically are able to connect all of your credit cards to your credit cards, your house, whatever, anything that you're paying to one central location, and it'll kind of, at the end of the month, give you a breakdown of your budget, what you're spending money on. So it helps from a budgetary perspective because obviously I'm assuming one of the main reasons why people are having credit card issues is because they're kind of not very financially responsible. And then
or just in a tough spot and have to stop the bleeding with credit cards for whatever reason.
And then the second thing was I wanted to mention was having some sort of like alarm or calendar entry to remind you to pay your credit card. Because I know for me personally, if I didn't have that, I always forget. I'm like, oh crap, I got to pay him today. Mm-hmm. So I think those are my 2 additional pieces of advice on top of that.
I use Mint.com. I used to use Mint.com like 10 years ago or something. I liked it for what it is. And now I have a bookkeeper, and then I have an account with some credit score company so that I can always log in and see what my credit score is. So.
Sorry, the thing that I forgot to mention, the third thing I wanted to mention was, and this is something that helps me a lot, is that when you use your credit card, when I use my credit card, I make sure that I have enough money in my debit account to when I'm using the credit card. So I actually use the credit card specifically for building on my credit, but I make sure that, okay, if I'm going to buy $100 worth of books, do I have $100 in my account so that I can cover it at the end of the month? Because in the beginning, sometimes I'd be like, oh well, this is. I mean, it just feels so. It's so interesting that you can just swipe this card and just kind of get whatever you want, without necessarily having that money at the time. You can say, oh, I'll get it in a month or two from now. But I try to make sure that no matter what, when I spend money with my credit card, I have the money in my account. That's just simple as just checking your balance every week and kind of using Mint to help you keep track of all that stuff.